Hello and welcome back to the third episode of Ask a DM, a D&D show where I take your questions from the D&D community and I answer them with a guest DM. And today I have Jake from JNJ Tabletop. So let me just bring him onto the screen. Hello.
Hey.
Would you like to introduce yourself so everyone knows who you are and where you're from?
Sure, yeah. Thanks for having me. My name is Jake. I am one of the famous J's from JNJ Tabletop. I'm just going to throw that out there, that we're famous, even though we're not famous, we'll say yet. But yeah, Josh and I sometimes are known as the Brothers Tabletop. We talk about Dungeons and Dragons, tabletop role-playing games, and we make content on YouTube, and we also stream some live gameplay on Twitch and do some stuff there too. But YouTube is definitely our primary. And really, at the heart of everything we do is we just want to help people get the most out of their games. So I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, that's a very good mission. So hopefully you can help some other people that are going to be watching this video along the way.
Yeah.
So we always start off just by asking you a few questions about your DM style and your player style, just so everyone understands what sort of DM you are. So first off, do you usually run homebrew campaigns or do you run pre-written campaigns?
Typically, I do my own stuff because I think I tend to be a little more, I'm going to say neurotic when it comes to trying to get everything like my ducks in a row, like making it right. But as I've gotten more experience, I've learned to like kind of let go of that feeling so much, particularly with a preset adventure. Like on our channel, I ran Dragon of Icefire Peak, which was a ton of fun, especially for a new player, which I got to teach my cousin how to play. So that was a lot of fun. But I think sometimes with a preset, you can feel like I can't change something because what if it messes something up down the road, and that whole thing. But I usually like to do my own thing.
Yeah, definitely. The first preset one I did was Rise of Tiamat, and that's not a great adventure to start with. But then I did Curse of Strahd, and I learned to read it all first, so you sort of know.
Yes, that
know
is
what's
always
going to happen
helpful.
later on. Because I think Rise of Tiamat, this was when I was really new to DM and didn't really know what I was doing. I would read a chapter and then essentially come to the session and run the chapter, and then read one chapter, and it doesn't really work like that. It doesn't work very well. So there you go. There's tip number one. Always read the adventure first.
Yes. Advice.
And how would you say you're split to sort of railroading versus sandboxes for your games?
Yeah, so if I'm putting together a game, I really lean towards sandbox because I think it's not as if there's not a place, and I would look at that as like a spectrum more than like a black or white, like you're one or the other. But I do feel like sandboxes give the most opportunity for good player agency in the game because I want my players to feel like the decisions they make can have a real impact on how things turn out, what happens, and yeah, sandbox.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm in the same boat. What would you say the split of exploration, roleplay, and combat is usually for a campaign for you?
Okay, so I will say as a DM, that's really going to depend on my session zero to see kind of what everybody's looking to get out of the game, and particularly also the concept that I might have in mind. But as a player, I would say I'm probably like 40-40 on role play and combat, and then like 20% exploration. Like I do enjoy each pillar quite a bit, but I think I would ease off the gas a little bit on the exploration to favor the other two.
Yeah, I'm actually really bad at exploration, remembering to put exploration in my game, so I
will
also
say
ease off.
I will say that the preset adventures can help with that, like because it's like, oh well, of course I have this whole beautiful map that's right here for you to explore.
Yeah,
But in homebrew
that's
games,
true.
that's a little less easy to do.
And so, where do you sit on roll tables as well? So, talking about exploration, when they're traveling from A to B, would you roll on a table to see what encounters they have along the way, or how do you work with roll tables?
Yes, that is a very good question. I think the less prepared I am for that session, the more likely I am to roll on those tables to see what happens. But I do like to have them just so at least, even if it's not something I roll on, I could kind of look at and be like, hey, you know what? Number 7 on that list looks pretty interesting to just kind of throw at the party right now. It's more like just like a preset list of thoughts and things that could happen. And so, yeah, I like to try to make each trip have something interesting happen. And then I also love to just have something that's completely mundane that the players will sit there and obsess about. Like, but that just seems like it has to be something.
Yeah, we all enjoyed that. That
Yeah.
just sit back and let them waste a half an hour talking
I-
about a chair.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Oh gosh.
And so, what is the highest level you've DM'd to in a campaign, and what's your favorite level to DM at?
Oh, that's a good question. For 5e, it's probably around 12 or 13. But I started a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So uh, the level scaling wasn't even the same back then. I've gone to epic tiers, but not. I don't think I've ever reached max level. Probably like if you're looking at wizard spells, probably around level 7 and 8.
Okay.
So yeah. And
Yeah,
I
I
think the
think
sweet spot usually is somewhere in like for 5e style, like tier 2. I like the 5 to 10. It feels like combat is dangerous, but the heroes are powerful enough where they can really do some cool stuff, and like they're dependent upon to do things. But yeah, somewhere around like level 12, 13, it's like, oh, all right, the players are really strong now.
yeah,
So they can kind of do whatever they want and get away with it.
yeah, a lot of management from the DM's point of view at that point. Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. So I can see there are some people in the chat already. There's Riku, Dungeoneers Pack, Rich Merry, all in the chat. So just so you know how to get your questions answered, if you just put question before the answer, so we know that you're talking to us and not talking amongst yourself. So just put question, write your question, and then we will answer it. And we've already taken a load of questions from Twitter and the Discord channel that we'll be answering throughout as well. So
That's great.
there you go. Also, Riku is saying about roll tables are never a bad idea. They're just another tool that you can use if you ever feel stuck and need some inspiration, which is, yeah, a very good point. Okay, let's jump into the questions then. And if anyone has any questions who are watching live, just chuck them in the chat. Oh, and if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, put them in the comments down below, and then we'll answer them next week. Okay, so as a player, this one is, so Pro DM Timothy, do you prefer to play casters or non-casters? Where do you fit in this?
I will say I thoroughly enjoy both, but at the heart of everything, I'm a wizard through and through. Wizards and bards, that's casters all the way. Even the player I'm playing in our Sunday game, like I played an Eldritch Knight that multi-classed into Warlock because I need my magic.
I've been in the exact same situation where I tried playing fighter and I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't not have magic, so I ended up multi-classing as a warlock just to get a bit of magic.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm in the same boat. Definitely. I wonder if there's some sort of correlation between DMs, people who like DMing, and people who like casters, because you've got a little bit more freedom and a little bit more creativity with casters.
It's interesting because a lot of DMs are going to be familiar with some of what the spells can do.
Yeah, exactly. I think especially for a new character, casters can be very intimidating just because the spell list is so massive. And there's a lot of content out there as well that tells people that fighters and monks are the way to start and learn the game, which I don't really completely agree with. But yeah, the wizard
easier,
is very.
I think you want to make sure that first experience is fun. So even if the druid is probably the most like complex druid or cleric, maybe I might say, but if that's what the player wants to play, they're going to keep coming back, and that's the goal, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. And we got a question coming from Rich here as well. So what's the highest challenge rating creature you've used in a game?
Oh, that's a good question. Again, with 5e. Well, I mean,
guess actually a question for you, because you keep saying in 5e. When did you start playing D&D then? What edition were you in?
I was my stepfather DM'd a blend of 1E and 2E for me. So
you're a proper veteran.
Yeah, I've been doing it a while. It was over 30 years ago. So yeah, I was a kid. I'm trying to think what the rating would be. I know we fought a Tarask that was something we mostly ran from because we were not strong enough. The highest, I'm not sure off the top of my head what it would be.
The one for me was because
Oh.
as I said earlier, I said Rise of Tiamat. So
Sorry, we
mine
did
was
it. What,
Tiamat.
an ancient red dragon. I don't know the CR off the top of my head.
Pretty high.
Yeah, it
I know
was.
it's quite high. So let's. I'll quickly look it up. But I did Tiamat was my big one, which is CR30, same as Tamask. But it's a bit of a, if you've not run Rise of Tiamat before, it's not like a straight fight. Basically there's a portal and then one dragon head comes out at a time and you have to try and stop the portal before all of Tiamat comes out. So you don't really fight the full velocity of Tiamat. So I'm not sure.
That could be rough.
Yes,
that one takes you up to max level, no?
What's that say?
Does that take you up to max level? No, it doesn't. Okay.
It doesn't. The idea is you're obviously supposed to stop the portal from then anymore out. But yeah, if you fail, then in theory you fight Tiamat, probably lose, and that's the end of the game.
Okay.
Because Tiamat is, if you've never looked, have you ever looked at a stat block for Tiamat?
Not just in passing.
It's basically got the breath weapon of all 5 ancient dragons in the same turn, so you're probably not going to survive that.
Use another legendary action. Another legendary action.
Yeah, exactly. Which is saying ancient red dragon is CR24, so pretty high up there.
Yeah,
that's a big end game creature. Okay, we got Ricky. Question for Jake. As a magic enthusiast, what would you consider underrated in terms of spells and cantrips that can be used outside of combat?
Oh, I am a sucker for any divination spell. I feel like information is key. If I can learn something through a clutch use of scrying or arcane eye or something like that, that's going to really, I don't know, I get excited about that. And any utility cantrip, like even just minor illusion or mage hand, they get so many things done.
Yeah, I think guidance is one that also a lot of people talk about being abused. But
yeah, it's not my favorite spell just because I feel like it's very, like you said, it's just I cast guidance, I cast guidance, I cast guidance.
Yeah, I think a good point for the scrying and all of those kind of spells as well, that somewhat does depend on your DM, like being fluid and stuff. Because if you've got a DM that's maybe not as experienced or not as good, then you can do scrying and never find out information.
That's
rather
true.
than being given a little nugget. But when it does happen, it is an amazing clutch moment of seeing something that changes the odds in your favor.
Mm-hmm.
So it is
and
awesome.
Any teleportation stuff I just love. So
teleportation is also very clutch in a lot of situations. Many misty steps saving the day of getting someone out there. Okay, we've got Dungeoneers pack as well. So what do you think one of the class settings returning to 5e will be, and why is it Spelljammer?
Well, yes, especially with the Unearthed Arcana that just came out. I guess it's over a week ago now. I mean, that Spelljammer is most definitely on the way. I would love to see them do like Dark Sun, but I'm wondering if some of the themes in that setting might need to be, we'll just say, updated for 2021. So, which I think if they could find a way to preserve the history of it and maybe just advance the timeline and have some changes, this way you don't take away from its past, but you can still give a product that's going to be enjoyed by everybody. I think that would be nice. Spelljammer is on the way. I think the stream, I forget what they called it. It was a couple weeks ago. It was an event that Wizards of the Coast was doing, and I think they said 2 classic settings are coming in 2022. So
one of them surely got to be Spelljammer.
Absolutely.
People have been wanting it for ages. It's got to be. And maybe Rich Merry saying talking about Planescape as well. So it's got to be updated, is what he's saying. I was going to say as well that there's not been a huge amount in like a desert setting. So something like Dark Sun. But then it looks like the new Critical Role adventure is going to the continent of Marquette, which is desert setting. So I guess maybe that's where they're going to bring in a bit of desert.
Yes, and I forget. I think there's an adventure that they're publishing as well as I think the continent for campaign 3 that they're going to be in.
Yeah.
Yes,
exactly.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I think it sounds like the adventure's taken them from Wildmount, which is where campaign 2 was set, to Marquette, where campaign 3 is probably going to be set. Makes most sense from a business point of view.
Yep.
So
Sure does.
yeah, makes sense.
It's a wonderful marriage.
Yeah, exactly. And Harry, hello to Barry. Barry is in the comments as well. He's one of my players for my streamed game. So
Barry.
There you go. Okay, next question from Twitter is from Porter Hill. So how would you go about letting someone play an arcane magic user in a world where arcane magic is heavily corrupted and is viewed with suspicion?
Oh, this is a very good question, one I have experience with. So I would, my style is to just try to talk about what that experience is likely to be like from the concept that I envision, and then discuss what that would be like from what the player is thinking, and then see if there's a middle ground that we could meet on. I might do something along the lines of, but depending on how intense you want to be with material component costs and what that might be like. Hey, this guy keeps buying all this suspicious stuff. Like, what do you need all these things for? That could be something to work on and just try and figure that out. But as best I can, I'm always trying to allow my players to play the kind of concept that they want. Again, session 0 it's just so important to be able to figure these kinds of things out ahead of time, so that you set your expectations properly for everybody.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing here is communication with that player. The streamed game I did a couple of months back with Barry in it, the big concept of it is that magic is illegal in the Western continent because of a big event. I won't go into the law of it, but a big event basically meant that the government banned magic unless you work for the government.
So do you have your magic license? Let me see.
Yeah, exactly. And then when I came up with that concept and went to the players, some of the players were like, "Oh, that's awesome! I want to be a magic user. Like, I want to be an underground magic user."
Yes.
And that really made them excited.
It could go either way.
Sounds awesome. But it is all about communication, really. At the end of the day, making sure they understand that arcane magic isn't very good in the world, isn't allowed, is corrupted or whatever, and then go from there and work with your player.
Yeah, it's not too much unlike, say, if you were doing like a Star Wars game in the dark times between episodes 3 and 4. Like the Force, like, oh, that's nope, we don't do that anymore. Like, so
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
cool. Have you ever had a session where nothing much happens? Says Pro DM Timothy, and I guess is that a problem? How do you deal with it if you think it is a problem?
I think it just depends. It depends on like if I'm the DM and all the players are just like leaning into role play and I'm kind of just hands off at that point, I'm kind of fine with that, because it usually means next session's prep work is going to be less, and whatever else, I'm going to understand the players and how what's important to them and their characters better. I'm going to be more able to do that. So even though it might be that's like a pacing question, if the pacing is starting to feel a little slow, I mean, maybe once in a while I might have a little something unexpected show up, but that's something you really have to kind of feel out. But yeah, I definitely have had those before, both as a player and a DM.
Yeah, definitely. I think end of the day, as long as everyone's still enjoying themselves, it's okay. I've had whole sessions where it's essentially just been them exploring the city, and they pop to this shop and then that shop and to the market, into this arena to watch this thing and stuff like that. And I guess technically you could say nothing much happens, but they did technically learn about the city and they enjoyed themselves and stuff like that. So
it helps with immersion.
Yeah, definitely.
you know.
And
It's also, if everything is just, it's almost like with music, if everything is just so up on the, you know, cutting edge the whole time, you know, I've heard a quote that I think is great: silence is the other half of music. Like sometimes what isn't done and what isn't played can be just as profound as what is. So it helps make just a whole campaign feel more dynamic.
yeah, definitely. And Riku brings up a good point actually. That well, the start of it where it says nothing wrong with a session here and there where you stay in a town. I think that's also a good point. You probably don't want to do this, 5 sessions in a row where nothing much
Yeah.
happens, because that will probably get boring for most people, unless that's what you and your players like. But yeah.
Mhm. But then you probably wouldn't describe that as nothing happening. Like, man, they're talking about stuff and they're meeting the townspeople. I'm like, I'm so geeked out about this. It's great.
Exactly. So yeah, I don't think it's a problem. Anyway, so let's go on to the next one. So Hedgehog UK is asking, what is the highest number of nat 1s or nat 20s you've had in a group check?
That's great. Actually, this one happened online. Riku probably remembers. So for whatever reason, our current group, we're a bunch of like theater kids, right? Nobody's got a high strength score. Everybody's dexterous or charismatic.
I like it.
And so we've got this thing where anytime we have to climb something, it gets awful. And so our game is also set in Wildmount. So we were approaching Uthadern, and we all wanted to scale a cliff to try and find there's a goblin camp above. And so Josh is the DM for that one, or the other J in our JNJs. And he's like, all right, everybody roll climb, or we're doing athletics check. I'm like, cool. I roll a natural 1. I'm like, okay. Izzy, who plays Melly, she also rolled a natural 1. And then we've got 2 halflings. One rolled a 2 and one rolled a 3. And if you're familiar with halflings, they re-roll natural 1. So it's basically like all of us did. It was just the odds of that were so...
I was going to say, that is extremely impressive.
Yeah, we all just were like, what just happened? Why can't we ever climb something?
Even the halflings got the worst situation.
Yeah, that's like the worst they could do.
That's pretty unlucky. That's
Riku, I don't know if you remember. I don't know if either Evan or Michael rolled a 1 and then they re-rolled a 2 or a 3 or whatever it was, but I think there may have been one of those in there too. It was just oof.
That is terrible. That is terrible. Fair enough. And so how many people are in your groups usually? Is there the 4 of you in that one?
Yep, we have 4 players, and Josh, he's been the DM, and he's brought in a handful of different NPCs, but none of them ever stick around long enough to be like a full DM PC, which both of us, we tend to steer away from those typically, just because we don't want to make it feel like we're influencing what the party wants to do.
Yeah, definitely. And is that your usual amount?
Usual size?
What would you say?
Yeah, I think anywhere from 3 to 5 players is the sweet spot for our games, because real life and scheduling also can get in the way more often the bigger you get. And again, it's setting expectations, but yeah, 4 is a nice number.
Nice. Okay, if you are getting any value out of this episode, if you could give it a like, that helps it to show it to more people that can get knowledge from Jake. So that would be great if you could give it a like. And let's jump on to the next one. So this one's, I think it's actually quite a hard one to answer. So it's Izzy Grimsey, I think is how you say that, is asking, what would you like to see in your gaming books that most publishers don't include? Yeah. So this is a bit of might need a little bit of thought, this one.
This is actually something I have a very common thread of criticism that I would say is a lot of times we'll just take Wild Beyond the Witchlight came out recently, and I think I would have preferred a book that's more centered on Feywild lore and information about the Feywild, and then maybe had like an adventure kind of tucked in the back of it or something like that, rather than presenting it as the adventure. I feel like I would love to see. I love campaign settings that have a rich setting, rich lore to share, and I think each you don't have to do each plane of existence, but I think one for the Feywild would be great. One for the Shadowfell would be great. I think you could probably do all the planes, elemental planes. But I think that I would rather have more lore and inspiration for stories to tell over mechanics, which is tough from a business standpoint, because if you do that, you're kind of only focusing on DMs, and let's face it, there are more players out there, and you want players to buy the books too. So I get that that's a balancing act and a half for a company that needs to survive and make money, but that would be what I would like to see more of.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I did actually enjoy Modern Guidance Tome of Foes quite a lot because of that. The first half of the book was about the Blood War and hell and all of that bit, and that was really. But you're right, that is probably a DM thing, and I don't think any player is going to sit there and read about the Blood War and all of this stuff. Maybe some do.
They might, yeah, but overall, it's going to be more DM focused.
So did you like the way that Critical Role have done their book so far then, where it's pretty much all lore with just adventure hooks?
Very much so. I think the Tal'Dorei Guide and Explorer's Guide to Wildemount are laid out extraordinarily well, especially comparatively to the way other 5e books are put out there. So, I'm a critter, so I pretty much love almost everything that they put out. And that's Explorer's Guide to Wildemount is outstanding.
Yeah, it was a very good book. Cool. I don't have anything better to say about that question, so I'm just going to skip to the next one because I can't think of anything. But I do agree. I also like lore dumps in books, and will happily read them. Okay, so Gateway, I think that's how you say that. Do you put shortcuts in your dungeon?
Ooh, so I'm assuming this is kind of like the classic Skyrim. You go through everything, and after you finish the last room, it's like, oh, look, you can just jump down this ledge, and you're back at the beginning. I think it just kind of depends. It's not something I normally think of, because as a DM, I can just usually, oh, you guys are done. You want to go back to town? Cool, you're back at town. So it's not really something I think of too much, but I like teleportation puzzles and things too that cause my players to panic. So it's not really a shortcut in a dungeon. That's just being an evil DM. But
I like it.
Yeah.
I did this once, so I put a shortcut. So I thought quite logically about it was a wizard made dungeon, and I was like, okay, well, the wizard's not going to want to go through all of this, so let's just make a way the wizard can get to their chamber at the end without having to go through all the traps. And yeah, the players found it and spent pretty much half the session working out how to get through this shortcut, and got through the shortcut and bypassed everything. So I've never done it again, because I was like, that's a waste of my preparation, and it wasn't the most exciting session compared to what it could have been if they went the other way. And I thought, okay, maybe to some degree you don't want complete realism in your dungeons or taverns and stuff like that.
No, but I will say this, and what you said kind of sparked part of my process for that, is I will think about how whatever lives in that dungeon might use it. And sometimes that results in a shortcut, sometimes not. But if there's like some kind of worm, like purple worm, like maybe they're burrowing through and doing all sorts of stuff. You want to go down those tunnels? I mean, hey, be my guest.
Yeah, they did a good job of that in Volo's guide as well, with the beholder lair all being like spheres and just halfway up, like 60 feet high and stuff like that. I am yet to run a dungeon like that, but I think that'd be fun, because then the players have to work out how to get 60 feet up and then walking on not very stable ground and stuff like that.
If they figure something out, I mean, all the more power to them.
Exactly. Okay, so next one. If you could go back and give yourself a bit of advice before the first time you ever DM'd, what would you have said?
Oh, man. Well, I was 12 the first time I did that. So there's a lot I would say, but probably the very first thing I would say is your players probably won't do what you expect them to do. So present situations more than try to tell your story. Focus. Yeah, that's probably where I would I would tell 12-year-old Jake.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is a very good lesson for any new DM. The players will go off the rails in approximately 2.5 minutes.
Oh, and
So
immediately for me, I remember the moment well. So like I had a DM PC that I wanted, the players to be with, and I was like, if I just show that this guy looks confused, of course they'll go say hi to them. You're 12, right? So that's what you think that. And they just watched him. So I was like, for that moment of panic sets in. Like, what do I do? I was like, maybe he'll ask them for directions. Yes, that's what he's gonna do. Simple solution, but it was at first like, oh, heart sinks.
yeah, especially if that's your first ever experience
Oh
DMing.
yeah,
That's not what you
definitely.
want.
No,
Very nice. So, in your worlds, do you have sporting events, or have you ever like put them into your story or world?
I have. Yes, I love having. Usually, it's more like gladiatorial games in a coliseum or something like that. But I love that's such a great culture world building tool because you could say a lot about a culture that has like some kind of blood sport out there, or maybe whatever you want to say, whether it's their cruelty to animals or some other thing. You're going to be able to really send a message home to your players about what kind of place that they're living and adventuring in, and that can help them feel passionate about it. So if that was the case, like I have a couple of dogs, so I'm very passionate about animal rights and things like that. So I'd be like, I want to overthrow this government immediately. Like, how do you allow this to happen? You're going to incite passion in your players. And so I love anything that can build culture is going to help tell that story well.
Very nice. Okay. I've actually sort of whipped from Critical Role my sporting events. So they did I forgot what they called it, but basically where the group of them go in and fight a monster, and then there's other groups doing the same, and then
Oh yeah,
the challenge rating gets higher. Essentially, I did that,
that's
and
great.
also just one-on-one tournament type fighting things as well, which is good.
Mhm.
Okay, we got one last question from Wiku because you have to jump off and do a stream after this.
I do.
So let's. So Riku, you
Oh.
get the last question here. So, do you enjoy stealth missions, and what are some of the challenges of DMing them?
I love stealth missions. I love them, whether I'm the player or the DM. The challenges are just how exactly you handle failure. I mean, if the players are going to do something really stupid, then I have no problems making the consequences be severe. But I think trying to, like, how often do you want them to roll stealth checks? How often do you want them to roll, this and that? Do you do a group check? Do you do individual checks? These kinds of things. And I think you kind of have to figure that out, in the middle of it all. But I just think it's so much fun because there's just so much tension. Like you're as a player, your heart's like pounding out of your chest. That was like, oh my gosh, that was like the first thing. Actually, it looks like Josh is in chat now. Like that was like the first mission we did in our current game was a stealth mission. We did a heist on a warehouse, and it was just so great. Like we were so nervous to not get seen. And if ever you watch it, you'll have to find out what happens. But
Yeah. Oh, a nice little teaser there. I like that.
but
Go watch
I
the
love
stream.
that. Yeah.
I also really enjoy when a mission becomes a stealth mission. You didn't expect it to. You thought it would go one way, and then the players throw something at you, and they're like, "Oh, I want to try and sneak here and do this thing," and then you're like, "Oh, okay." In fact, I'm running Curse of Strahd at the moment off of stream. This is, and they essentially, if anyone knows Curse of Strahd, there's a the Hag Tower, I call it. It's like a windmill, and they had managed to sneak in, and they got to the second floor, and there was a hag on the first floor and a hag on the third floor and two hags on the third floor, and then they messed up. They made a big noise, so now they're in a situation where they're surrounded by three hags at a low level, and we're going to go into the next session, and I'm like, I don't know how they're going to deal with that. That's very deadly. They're going to have to work it
Yeah.
out, but I do enjoy it when a
That
mission turns into a stealth mission.
I will say one piece of advice I would say is as the DM, with a preset adventure, you got to roll with whatever you got to roll with. But as the DM, don't put something on the board or in the game that you're not prepared to use. should the crap hit the fan like
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
It's because, we had another situation in our game like that Josh was, oh, I hope we don't TPK.
Indeed,
But yeah.
definitely. And that is a good last bit of advice. Go ahead. Oh, I'll put the other question up. Go ahead and tell people where they can see your stream. So you're going to be streaming in an hour or so.
Yep, in a couple hours at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, twitch.tv/raredrop. You're going to see Josh. He's in chat, the real Josh T. He's the DM, but our group plays Ancient Relics and Hokey Religions. And the whole theme of that one was like a treasure hunt. And I think we're hitting episode 41 tonight, which is really exciting. We found something really, really intriguing in the elven ruins of Malaesmere. And it feels like the fate of the world is in our characters' hands, and that's really a lot of fun. But as far as where you can find me, I'm personally at JNJ, just like you see on screen now, pretty much everywhere. Sometimes I have an underscore, sometimes not. But we're part of JNJ Tabletop, which is, like I said before, we just want to help people get the most out of their games of D&D.
Perfect. And all of those links are down in the description as well, so go and check them out. I didn't realise you'd been going for 41 episodes on that as well. That's a long time to be streaming, and quite a good campaign then running. What level are you now? 41.
We're level 7. We've been using milestones, and we've had some moments.
Cool. So, and they're all on the Rare Drop channel, aren't they? They're not on your channel.
They are. We actually, Josh and I are going to be, the first episode is going to be on our YouTube channel, and we're going to be premiering that very soon. So
there you go.
Yeah.
So is that the stealth episode, the stealth mission episode?
I'm not sure if that was the first episode or the second, but
okay.
If Josh is in chat, he can correct me. I think it's the first episode.
Okay. And Josh has confirmed there's probably going to be some stealth tonight as well. So if you want to go and see how Jake deals with that, go over to the Rare Drop Twitch and check it out. And then go over to their YouTube channel down in the description and Twitter. And I also put their link tree in, which has Discord and some other good places as well. So thank you very much for coming on, Jake. Is there any final words of wisdom to take us out?
No, I mean, just thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. And then really the biggest thing, you said it earlier, and it just resonates with me. It's a game of communication and from top to bottom. So just communicate with each other like mature adults and you're going to be just fine.
Perfect. What a great way to end. So thank you very much for coming, Jake. And we will be airing again the same time next week. So if you have any questions for us next week, put them down in the comments below. Perfect. Well, thank you. And until next time, happy gaming.